Hello and welcome to part 3 of the PMDG 737 tutorial series. Today we're going to be descending and arriving into Dublin. So we're going to look at the chart, and this is our arrival. The approach, let's have a look at our minimums today. So we're going to refer to the chart. Weather's not very nice down there, I don't believe, so we'll probably go 505, which is 270. That's our minimums today. On to 10 left at Dublin, so we'll check the arrival. It's 1016 QNH, 7 degrees, broken at 800, scattered at 700, broken at 400, few at 400, 9 knot winds. So we'll go 505. So all you need to do is you'll go to the Barrow setting and you'll just turn this knob until 505. And that's how you set your minimums in the 737. So there's 505 plugged, and we'll go auto brake 3 for today, which is standard in the 737. Flat 30 auto brake 3. So the first altitude on our star is 8,000 feet. So let's pretend we've been cleared down to 8,000 feet when ready to descend. So we'll go down to 8,000. Is everything set up ready for arrival. So I'll jump back in shortly when we are actually going to start the descent. So welcome back into we're about to start our descent to Dublin. So all I've done is left it. I was setting up a second ago. And the aeroplane, because we've got VNAV and LNAV engaged, should descend on the path it has calculated itself. So when we get over that top descent green marker there, we're going to start heading down. So the fix rings you see I've set up, all I did was click fix ring in the menu on the FMC, and then you type in runway 10 left, so RW 10 and then left, just L. Pop that in the fixed wing page, and then it will give you 3 places where you can put numbers basically. And then all you do is you click /5, pop that in the number 1, /10, and then slash whatever 3 times your height is today. And there you go. So we've gone into the descent mode. I'm going to start descending on the path. And it will descend itself, and as you can see on the PFD to the right, with all the map on for our navigation and stuff, there'll be a VNAV marker just the bottom right. So it's the white line with the magenta diamond that goes up and down with some numbers above. So as you can see, we're on VNAV at the moment, sorry, it will descend with that. If you start changing your waypoint or messing with speeds, that will change. So if you're doing an RNAV approach, you need to be bang on VNAV. You'd need to make sure you're keeping an eye on that. So it will give you a estimate of how high and low you are per waypoint. I hope you've been enjoying the tutorial series so far. If you guys would like to see the Airbus version in the Phoenix, please don't hesitate to say. I was going to do a couple, so the next one will probably be the Phoenix, then I'll do the TFDI MD-11, then probably the Avro RJ, and other aircraft that come out, like the PMDG 777 as well, if you guys want to see that. And if you like this different type of video format in shorter form, please tell me if you'd like it again. So I know sometimes my videos are quite long, an hour each for a full flight. If you guys want to see some shorter content, don't hesitate to tell me in the comments. So we've got the course of 109 75 or 55, sorry, 109.55. So we'll pop that in to these here, and this is your ILS frequency. So you're going to flick them over. So 109.55 is in the active box. Then what you're going to want to do is match the courses in both the left and the right side, so the aircraft follows the ILS and the courses correctly. So there you go. So we've got 097 set on both sides now and 109.55 set in both boxes. So the aeroplane is set up for an ILS approach. If you were doing an RNAV, you wouldn't need to set any of this up. You just need to find the minimums. So say the minimums doubling for the RNAV was 500 feet. You'd set the minimums, and then on the chart you'd have a look what the minimum altitude you're allowed down to. With the RNAV, you'd put that in the altitude box. So let's say we're doing the RNAV today, and the minimum you're allowed to go down to is 500 feet. So you'd set the minimums at 500, and on the approach you'd make sure you're on VNAV, and then you would change the altitude knob to 500 feet, and the aircraft would descend with the glide, well not the glide, but with the VNAV approach, the RNAV approach, down to 500 feet. After the minimums, it won't follow any guidance, you'll have to disconnect. If you can't see the runway, you'll have to go around, but that's a rough and simpler explanation how an RNAV approach works. If you guys want to see an RNAV tutorial, please don't hesitate to ask on that in this 737 tutorial series with a separate video. And that will also change as well, so I'm just coming to mind with all the different approaches. You get your localizer approach, which is where you use your localizer, but you use VNAV or vertical speed to keep it happy. And these all change minimums and change your type of approach. Today the standard ILS is very easy. Once you're on the establishing turn into the ILS, the localizer will come alive, the magenta diamond at the bottom, and then you'll get the glide slope live on the right hand side of the PFD with magenta diamond. Click approach, that will line it up for you. If you're high, you'll have to descend yourself to try and catch it. If you're low, you don't need to catch yourself as long as you've got the approach activated. So we're going through 15,000 shortly, so we'll get the seatbelt signs on just a bit earlier. Because on the chart, like I said, if you don't use Navigraph, that's fine, or if you don't use SimBrief, that's fine. But on SimBrief, it's really nice because it shows you, like it would in the real world, the weather charts for the flight. And if I go on my weather charts for the flight, at the bottom, it says we're expecting a little bit of turbulence as we head into Dublin, and some strong high altitude winds. So there's a strong cloud all the way down, and as we enter sort of the Irish coast, there's a little bit of weather we could expect to cause some turbulence, which isn't too bad, that's okay. So we'll get the seatbelt signs on nice and early, let the cabin crew secure the cabin, make their life easy. And as we turn right, you can see that horrible cloud base underneath. With the speed as well, as you can see, the speed is slightly below the magenta bug that shows where the speed should be. That's fine. I think it's plus or minus 20 knots before it'll start bugging you for if it's above it'll start giving you after 20 knots added on for some speed brake. 20 knots below the thrust will add in, but that's normally in the 737, especially when you're dealing with strong winds like we are today, in the descent path, but it sorts itself out. It's a bit different to the Airbus. With the Airbus, you don't really need to watch out for a lot. It does it all for you. With the Boeing, you need to be very careful. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does veer off VNAV. That's just what it's like. The 737, especially if you start messing with speeds, altitudes, and when you start deleting waypoints. Like today, we're not going to do the whole of Roll because we're not on VATSIM and we don't need to. So just before we're about to turn right, we'll go direct to the IDFAT waypoint, I think it is, which is at 4,000 feet, and that will lead us on nicely to the ILS. As you can see, we've been in the air for 36 minutes at the moment, so it's not a very long flight. So as you can see, the updated weather's not very nice. So the QNH is 1016. It doesn't want us to change the barometric pressure yet, but I will do shortly when we go on the next waypoint. I know this is a PMDG 737-800 tutorial, but a lot of the stuff that I've shown in this can be transferred over to the Zebo mod and even the iFly 737 MAX, as they are the same aircraft, just slightly updated. The iFlight's different to load flight plans, and it's slightly different to ground power and stuff, and how you load the aeroplane. However, once you've got it loaded, you can sort of follow this tutorial and the outcome will be the same. Descending nicely now, we're 11,000 feet. So like I said, VNAV's doing most of the work for us. If you are on an online network and you get sort of headings and vectors round, there is an easy way to keep up with VNAV. So you get into vertical speed and then you'll just update your waypoints. It's not like the Airbus. When you go direct to somewhere, it doesn't automatically turn left or right unless you've got LNAV engaged. So if you're on head and select, and you think your next waypoint's they're going to vector you close to a waypoint and then onto a waypoint, you can direct that waypoint and give you a updated VNAV profile. It's just a rough guide, but it's a good guide. So we'll get the lights on now, as we're about to descend through 10,000 feet. It doesn't want us to go standard yet, that's fine. You can see that weather in front of us is not nice at all. So as you can see, the aircraft pitches up slightly just before we go through 10,000 feet. That is normal, as it wants the speed to come back below a certain speed, and it will start descending again when it's got it under control. If you are coming in a bit faster, you have a higher cost index, so the cost index does change your rate of descent and speed. So if you've got a really high cost index and you're descending at something ridiculous like 310 knots, when you're about to start going through 10,000 feet, it will pull up, but you'll probably need speed brake out for that if you're trying to get on VNAV path. Sort of between cost index 5, 6, you sort of get the same results. Anything after that, you can be really fast or really slow. 6 is sort of the sweet spot, I find anyway. Ryanair use it, Jet2 and 2 use cost index 6 as well. So. So, start switches and go to continuous, and we'll get the engine anti-ice on. The start switches do need to put to continuous before you get the anti-ice on, just to keep the starters on, because we're going through the top of the clouds at the moment. So that buzz you just heard, of the ding, was the 1,000 foot call out before we get to 8,000. Like I said, shortly we're going to go direct to IDFAT, which is the waypoint just before we join the ILS. And the reason we're getting anti-ice on is because we're going through the top of the clouds and it's below 10 degrees. As you can see above the engine things over on the right hand side, above there you can see it says +7, and it's just gone to +8. As long as it's below 10 you need anti-ice on, especially if through moisture. So we'll go direct to IDFAT. And no, because that's going to draw a silly line. So we'll just go direct to FAP at the moment. It's a bit of a shame because we've started the right hand turn, don't worry. So it's gone to VNAV alt, which is to hold us at 8,000. So what we're going to do is we are going to descend ourselves to 4,000 feet, and we'll leave it for a second, just let the aeroplane level off and stop its turn. And we'll go vertical speed and we'll descend at about 1,000 feet. And as you can see, the speed is trending upwards, so we might need to get a little bit of speed brake out in a second. And don't worry if you are using speed brake like we are now, it's absolutely normal to use speed brake. There you go, there's the speed brake extended. So we've got the standard barometric pressure, which is 1016, as you can see. We are descending at 1,000 feet per minute now. Everything's sorted so far. And this is how to always fly these approaches. Most of the time we follow VNAV and LNAV guidance, but a lot of the time, especially when coming into airports with long approaches, sort of like Barcelona, you are often got vectors or directs, which does change the dynamic of your flying a little bit. And as you can see, the weather is actually getting worse down there. It's a few at 200, so it might not be the nicest. We'll stir the speed brake now. So yeah, with approaches, you just got to watch out for what waypoints you're on. Like I said, especially for these sort of bigger approaches for larger airports, they give you shortcuts. Sometimes you just need to be on top of it. So we'll go Fox 1, just to start slowing the aeroplane down. We'll get a bit of speed brake out as well. We'll go 200 knots because the maximum speed of our next waypoint is 200 knots, if you remember from reading the chart. So we'll start slowing down again, just keep on top of this approach as we're about to turn onto final. So we'll stir the speed brake now. And I'm not going to activate approach until the airplane has stabilised itself after the turn, just because it's quite a tight turn, and we are at 190 knots, so as it begins its left-hand turn. slow that rate of descent down right nice, because it's we're right under the glide. And as you can see from the weather radar, there's quite a nasty bit of cell weather over the airport, so that's going to be interesting. Might have a go around tutorial as well if the weather's not that good. So there's the 1,000-foot call out. We'll slow the rate of descent down to 500 feet a minute because the ILS is starting to come in, and we're stable, so we'll go approach, localizer, live localizer captured. And the go around altitude is 4,000 feet. So once we have started descending on the glide and we've gone through the altitude that we have set in the window, we can put the altitude at 4,000 feet, and that is the go around. So we'll go flaps 5 now, slow right down to 175 knots. So there you go, speed window, the vertical speed's gone blank, which means we've captured the glide slope, so we'll go to 4,000 for the go around. Everything's set nicely up there as well. So we're watching the DME distance, which is located in the top left of the PFD, and as you can see the 2,500 foot rad out call out just there, so we are at 2,500 feet AGL. Once that reaches about 6 miles in the top left, we'll probably gear down. Might go a bit earlier because we are a bit fast. Watching the speed now, looking outside as well. It's horrible weather. So we'll go gear down, we'll go to flat 15, book the flat 15 speed, which is 154 knots. We'll arm the speed brake as well, so just get the arm in position right. There you go, so speed brake's armed. Ding the cabin crew, the start switch is already continuous. If there were, we'd need to put them on and we'll get the rest of the lights on. Final approach speed, which we've got plugged in already, with 10 knots extra wind, will be 150. So you can get some very nice weather out there. So we're flat 30 green light. But as you can see on the right of the altitude there at the bottom, a white bar has appeared and is slowly creeping up. That is 1,000 foot AGL. So you'd want to be fully configured flat 30 before you see that white bar. We've fully configured and stable before there, so we are continuing the approach.
1,000.
That's the 1,000 foot AGL call out. Still no sight of the runway. Hopefully we'll see something soon, because I want to do a bit of hand flying. There are the lights, so we'll disconnect the auto throttle and we'll disconnect the autopilot, and it's my aeroplane. All my yoke's doing that silly thing, so just watch. As you can see, we're going to be descending with the glide, 3-degree glide slope, so about 900 feet per minute, but it is a bit windy. I'm trying to maintain centre line.
100.
So to be stable, you don't want the magenta diamond to go 1 dot below or 1 dot above. There's minimum, so we'll continue. The only problem is with Microsoft Flight Simulator, the ILS patterns sometimes are off. So as long as you look stable in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you probably are 50 foot over the threshold. I'm trying to fight that wind a little bit.
50, 40, 30, 20.
And we'll hold it there, so we'll flare, close the thrust levers at 20 feet, and down we are. So we'll get the reverse thrust out, the auto brake is going to kick in, and the spoilers will come up on their own. Maintain the centre line with rudder. Slowing down quite nicely. Auto brake 3 has done a really good job there. So we can disconnect the auto brake and go manual braking, and the reverse thrust can come in now, and that is how we get the plane on the ground on an ILS approach. So a taxi off. So we have made the taxiway we wanted to make. So we'll clean up the flaps, get the APU on, and turn off the lights. Get the spoilers in as well, and we'll get the anti-ice off, and the start switches go to off. We'll keep the taxi light on. We'll make a right hand turn here, and we'll take the nearest available stand that we can. Doesn't really matter because we're not doing it realistically today, it's just an A to B. So, as we arrive on stand, we will call it a day about there. We'll set the parking brake. So engine number 1's already off and engine number 2 can come off. The APU was turned on. We'll get the taxi light off, the passenger signs off, APU bleed on, and the isolation valve off, so we can get some conditioned air into the cabin. And that is us down at Dublin. Hope you've enjoyed this series, guys. Short little series on how to start and fly the 737. If you did enjoy, please like and subscribe, and please let me know if you'd like any other tutorial videos in the future about any other aircraft you'd like to see.